Good morning, everyone. It is Jen from Sundae Baubles. Welcome to Sundae Brunch. I'm so happy to see you all. Hello, Deborah. Hello, Cindy and Jack. Kathy Hill, welcome, and thank you so much for joining the Extra Scoop Club. Extra shout out to both you and to Sassy Gal as well, who joined in the last week. It is lovely to have you with us. For those who aren't familiar with the Extra Scoop Club, I'll talk about it in just a little bit, but first I want to welcome you. It's hard to believe that it is August already. The temperature, I would say, is almost starting to cool here, but then we get a little bit more of a sunny day and it feels like it's deep in summer once again. So I hope you are all enjoying your summer. Hi, Michelle and Diana, Lily, everyone. It is wonderful to see you. Today's Sundae Brunch is all about garnet, and this is one of my very favorite topics, and I'm excited to share with you why it is such a confusing topic for many, and it has to do with garnet as a species and variety. Oh, it's cutting out. Let me see if I can improve that. Can everyone hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up or a comment. I'm just going to watch this. No sound problems? Okay, great. I will try to make sure that I'm speaking directly into the mic and we will eliminate as much issue as possible. Hi, Gina. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Jack. Hi, everyone. It is really, truly wonderful to see you. So, quick note on the Extra Scoop Club. It is a club that you can join. It is available both on YouTube and through Patreon. There is a join button on the video, and it gives you some extra access to posts, support on researching your jewelry, and every month we also do a special live antique roadshow style where you submit things to me and I research them for you and give you an idea of what a retail value could be, and we have a lot of fun. So I hope you can make it. You are all welcome to join. Welcome, Sue. Hello, Steen. Wonderful to see you. Hello, Catherine, Diana, everyone. It is a pleasure to see you all. So the first thing that I realized this morning after preparing all sorts of slides for you was that the one ring I did not cover in the slides is one of my favorites and one of the oldest pieces in my collection. So I just quickly took a short video so that you can see it in detail because it's one of the rings that I had highlighted on the Sundae Brunch announcement. So normally I start off by talking about the definitions and the science. Today we're first going to look at this ring. Allow me to share a quick video with you, and here it is. So this piece was one that I found online from the UK. It is absolutely special to me. It is a Tudor ring from the 16th century. It's got a garnet in it. You can see that there's a little bit of a damage to the top of the stone, but that doesn't bother me one bit. Now, I would say this started my love affair with garnets, and I think it really did in how it glows, but garnets have been something that I've been attracted to for ages. There are many, many varieties, many, many colors, but we're going to start by talking a little bit about the lore. So without further ado, I'm going to pop in and share some information with you. Good morning, Emily. Great to see you. Now, once upon a time, garnets were said to even cure things like eyesight. They could be held in the mouth for one, and they were very popular as a cure-all. So there was a lot of folklore associated with them. In addition to that, it was said that Noah had made a lamp of garnets on his ark, which helped him navigate his ship during the flood. And some also suggested that garnet was actually drops of blood from the gods that had solidified. So very cool history. Now, garnet properties with regards to the metaphysical, it is said to bring courage and confidence, restore your strength, and strengthen your desires and resolve, supply vitality, protect friendship, overcome sadness, and control blood pressure and circulation. So who wouldn't do well with garnet? It would seem that everyone would do well to have some garnet in their collection. But when we think of garnet, often people first think of Bohemian garnet. And that's because it is a name that is most commonly used. And today we're going to dive into what specifically Bohemian garnet is and what it isn't. We'll talk about some of the green varieties that have gained more notoriety recently. And we will also talk about the yellows and the oranges and the color change varieties that are less known. I geeked out a little bit and created some scientific slides, but stick with me. I have simplified the science to try to make it as easy as possible. And by the end of today's show, you will understand why some garnets are harder than others, why some are red and others green, and all sorts of other fun details that may become very useful in a casual conversation or when jewelry shopping. Let's begin by talking about garnet. Now, the reason why it's so confusing and so complex is that it isn't a single gem species. Rather, it's a very complex family of many species and varieties. If you're wondering what that means, we're going to jump in right here. So there are a few scientific models, and we're going to start with the straight line series. And this is the red series, almandine to pyrope, with rhodolite that is actually a mix of the two. Now, this was a model that was created, but it really oversimplifies what garnet is because it doesn't capture any of the oranges, the greens, and it's quite basic. So over time, different gemologists and chemists have put together different models, and I'm going to share a few with you, and then I've created some diagrams that show you why garnets take on the colors that they do. So next up, I want to share with you what those three distinct varieties look like, because this is going to come to play a fair bit today. We've got almandine, which is a little bit on the orange side, rhodolite, which kind of reminds me of a raspberry pink red, and then pyrope, which is a deeper red. Now, the second model that our scientific friends created is the two-dimensional graph. And this is to describe that garnets are actually not pure. So an almandine garnet or a pyrope garnet or a spessartite, they don't just sit on one corner of this pyramid. They're usually a blend. And what the blend is a blend of the elements that are within them. So truly their chemical composition. Now, here is another photo for you so that you can see. Almandine on the oranger, browner side, spessartite that is quite orange or yellow even, and then pyrope on the far red spectrum. But still, that doesn't capture all of the unique varieties of garnet. Now, the exploration of gemstones and minerals has become more and more advanced, especially in the 20th century. You often hear of many discoveries that are happening in the 20th century, and that is because of the advancement of science. And this three-dimensional graph shows you yet another view of all of the different planes and sort of composition mixes that you can have of these garnets. Right now, we're just going by name, but we're going to dive in just a little bit deeper. I wanted to share this view with you that a chemist put into play, and it is a beautiful example that shows you how you can look at garnets as being a family that have some similar elements to them, but their differences is what makes them truly unique. And so this is essentially the same model as what we were just looking at, but they've built it out with the gemstones themselves. I thought it was really unique and quite a nice way to take a look at how these gems are all related to each other. Now, here's where we get into a little bit of science. Stick with me. I'm going to simplify it, and I promise that it will be worth your while because you will never look at garnet the same. And in fact, you may become even more enamored with it, much like me. When we talk about what genetically makes up garnet, we have a general formula, and the formula is XY, where X can be calcium, magnesium, iron, or manganese, and Y can be aluminum, iron, vanadium, chromium, or manganese, and then always silicone and oxygen. So the reason this is important is that it's those first two X and Y that truly define what makes the garnet special in terms of its color. It also helps determine its hardness and so many other factors. There are essentially two major groups. The first that we'll talk about have aluminum in that second position for the Y, and the second group has the calcium in the first position in place of the X. Now, I've put a red box around the top because these are generally the more red in color, and a green box around the second. This showcases exactly where that position is in case there's any question. Now, we are going to talk about how this influences the color of garnet. As you can see in the aluminic series, and so those are the gemstones that have the aluminum in the second position, these are known as pyrrolspite, and they are generally red. We have almandine, pyrope, and spessartite that are the main varieties, and then rhodolite and malaya, which are actually blends. So when people talk about, garnet, there is generally no such thing as a pure garnet. They are almost always a blend. And if it's primarily almandine, then it will have a little bit more of that brown red color or orange red color. If it's pyrope, it's quite a clear red. If it's spessartite, it's going to be a little bit more on the yellow side. And then when you get into the blends, that's when it gets a little bit tricky. And as you see, this is one of the main reasons why it is so contentious to try to determine what a garnet is purely by color. On this diagram that I've created for you, I've created a bit of a color chart based on what the elements are that are inside the composition. So on the far left side, you can see that the color goes from an orange red all the way down to a bright orange. If there is manganese in it, as well as iron, then it is going to be more on the red side. And in absence of as much of those elements, but more of the other elements, in this case, we've got the magnesium, at the top, magnesium and iron. When it's manganese, it's going to be more on the orange. And so this is why spessartite is generally quite an orange color. You've got a whole variety that sit in between that are referred to often as malaya, and those can be very beautiful garnets that are sometimes pink and orange. Sometimes they even rival the pamperagia colors. It's fascinating to see what can fall in there. So this is one way of looking at red garnets that are part of the alumanic series or pyrrolspite series. Now, the green garnets or the ugandite series are calcic. And here, again, you're going to see that we've got calcium in that first place. And generally speaking, we've got quite a variety of green colors reaching all the way to almost a pale and translucent. Andradite has 3 subvarieties: demantoid, melanite, and topazolite. Grossular has a whole variety of hessonite, lusogarnet, hydrogrossular, Marilani mint, mallee, and savorite. And then uvarovite stands on its own. So I've created a similar diagram here for you. This time, the color banding is located on the bottom of the screen. When you have a significant amount of chromium in it, as well as a mix of chromium and aluminum, so that's going to be on our left side of the screen, you get a very, very vivid green and almost like appley green color. With the addition of iron, which you can see on the right top side, that is where it becomes a little bit more red or brown, has a little bit of yellow in it. And this is indeed the calcic series. So you can see on here that demantoid has some iron in it as well as chromium. They all have a mix of each of these, and it is never in just exact proportions. And that's what helps make garnets truly unique, and why, in my opinion, it's extremely important to always buy what you love when you're buying garnets. Now, this also comes into play for garnets' general properties. The Mohs hardness for garnets is ranging from 6.5 to 7.5. Now, what helps explain why some garnets are a little bit softer than others is, in fact, those elements. It is the calcium that we have inside the green variety generally that make them just a little bit softer. That said, depending on the mix of elements, they can still fall all the way up to the range of 7.5. And the aluminum mixed with that iron color, making it red, will bring them to be a little bit harder than usual. So this is my little scientific overview for you. And I do want to share some information just on green garnets. We are going to focus most of our conversation today not on green garnets, but instead on the red variety because they're a little bit more common. And I want to make sure that we do a deep dive. But we are going to talk about green garnets. And I do have this one Demantoid example in my collection, which we'll look at shortly. Green garnets have really only become more popular in the 20th and in the late 19th century. The Demantoid garnets, which have a telltale feature known as a horsetail feather in them, which is how they can be identified, became quite popular in Russia. So let's look at some beautiful jewelry. This first one is a pendant. It is Art Nouveau and it is Russian with demantoids. Now, again, demantoids can vary in their vividness, and all stones in this are indeed demantoid. We also have this pendant, which I just held up for you. So in case it wasn't perfectly clear, want to make sure that you're able to see it. And I wanted to share with you a more modern ring, and this one is made of savorite. It is a Tiffany ring, and get a load of the price tag on this one. It is part of their Blue Book collection and is $115,000. Quite something. You may notice that in addition to that amazing green savorite stone, there's also a whole variety of yellow stones on this and a little bit of orange too. And these are all fantastic spessartite stones. So Tiffany has taken some of the best garnets that they could find and put it together into a truly stunning ring. Thank you for bearing with me for a little bit of that science component. I wanted to make sure that we covered off why the colors come through and look the way they do, because this helps explain a lot of the confusion for Bohemian garnets. We're going to first talk a little bit about the quality and different phenomena that can be found in garnets, because much like other stones, based on their composition and how the elements in them are actually laid out, some pretty special things can happen. First up, we're going to talk about color change garnets. Now, a color change garnet, much like other color change gemstones, change color in different lighting. I'm going to start by sharing a video with you so that you can see what this looks like. So this garnet goes from an almost yellow olive in outdoor light to a pink, which is a beautiful change. Now with garnets, you can get all sorts of different color changes. They can be this yellow olive to pink, you can get them from green to red, and you can also have them so that it's more of a pink to purple color as well. An example of that is right here. With all gems, the stronger the color change, the more valuable they are, and color change garnets are quite rare and fall in that Malaya catch-all category for garnets. Another very uncommon feature is asterism in garnet, and this can be 4-ray or 6-ray stars that appear based on any silks or rutiles that are inside the stone. Again, this is something that's quite uncommon, so if you do happen to come across a ring or a pendant or something with a cabochon that has these rays, hang on to it, in my opinion. It can easily be mistaken with a ruby, but rubies are in that sense much more common than garnet with an asterism in it. And this is seen typically in the pyrope variety, sometimes also in rhodolite, which do have an element of pyrope to them. Now, when we think about the quality factors of garnet, it is the same as any other stone: color, translucency, size, and phenomena. And when we talk about color, the more vibrant, the better. Translucency, the clearer, the better. Size always matters, as does whether or not it has any phenomena. We're going to jump into red garnets now. So red garnets have been popular for millennia. And we're going to first jump into what is Bohemian garnet. Now, when someone says, I love garnet, generally they're talking about that wonderful red color. And as jewelry collectors and aficionados, we often seek out Bohemian garnet, check Bohemian garnet, but what does that really mean? I want to make sure that we go through those details today and clarify it, because not all garnet and not all red garnet is going to be Bohemian. So let's dive into what this means. Pyrope garnet from the Czech region is recognized as Bohemian. That is what is essentially the definition and what is agreed upon. It is difficult to detect where something is from without sending it away to be tested so that we can understand exactly what the minerals are and identify what region it came from. When jewelry is marked, this definitely helps us a fair bit. All pyrope is not Bohemian, and all Bohemian should have elements of pyrope. So it can get a little bit confusing. And I wanted to share a map. Now, Bohemia is the former name of what has become Czechoslovakia, and this is an older map that shows you where the Kingdom of Bohemia lies. And next to it, you can see a map that has the deposits of pyrope garnet. Now, pyrope garnet is still mined today, jewelry from these same regions. Jewelry is still being created. In fact, there are museums in this area that also have gift shops that are associated with different makers and ateliers, and you can get some wonderful quality pieces as well. For our purposes, often we're interested in the antique pieces. Now, I do want to show you what some of these look like, but first, here is a wood plate that has a print was made from, and this is from the 17th century, and it shows some folks working on these wonderful garnets using very manual tools. This evolved over the ages. This is an imperial crown and orb and the scepter of Austria. And I wanted to share this with you because especially the scepter, which truly dates back several centuries, it has many different Bohemian garnets encrusted in it. Funny story, it was also said for a long time that that scepter was made with the corn of a unicorn. But that is not the case. It was actually from a narwhal. But that is what they told people. Now, here is an example of a pyrope ring, and this indeed was a Bohemian garnet ring. And we're going to take a look at a couple of others, but let's take a look at a video so that you can see firsthand what these garnets look like when light hit them. What's special about them is how the light brings out flecks of red, orange, but they're still a very true red. So this ring is circa 1860. And you can see that detail. They're rose cut, and that was very typical for older pieces. This is the bracelet I'm wearing today from 1870 with very large, almost carbuncle cabochons, smaller ones around the side. I'll show you the reverse once I show it to you in daylight. As you can see, it's a bit darker without direct sunlight, but it still continues to show all of the brightness. The back is closed, and this is quite typical in older pieces, but not necessary. This is a cabochon clover from 1880, again closed back. And then I'll show you a couple more examples too. This one is a later piece from 1920, again faceted in the rose cut way, a little bit more shallow. So that's one way of identifying the newer stones. And then I'm going to show you an image as well that allows you to see some of the detail behind that bracelet, which is a telltale sign of a slightly newer piece. And hello, Scavenger. Hello, everyone. Sylvia, it is wonderful to see you all. Uniques by the Creek. If I've missed you, Jane, everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to pause for a moment before I take you through some more of these pyrope pieces, just to make sure that everybody enters to win a Sundae Brunch mug. So get that hashtag all caps win in for your chance to win one of these. It is the exclusive Sundae Brunch mug that cannot be bought. It can only be won. Please help each other out in making sure that you get hashtag win all caps in, and we will be doing the draw just a little bit later in the show today. We still have quite a bit of jewelry to look at, and we are going to play a couple of games, not dating games today, but rather garnet identification games. But first, I want to go through some of the finer details of the color on garnet with all of you too. So please help each other out. Make sure that you type that hashtag win. I'm going to hide the banner, and we will continue with the presentation. So here is another example of a pyrope garnet. It is quite beautiful. We do have the rose cuts Sometimes when the light hits them, it's difficult to capture all of the facets. You can make them out in certain pieces here, but you can definitely pick up on that deep, deep red, and it is more of a true red than anything else. This is the back. It has had some repairs. The clasp on this is not original. As you can see, it has a safety, but this construction is quite typical for the older Victorian pieces. You'll notice that they're tiered. Sometimes the garnets themselves are collet set in. And so I just wanted to share some of this detail with you so that you know what it is you're looking for when you're in search of a Victorian piece. Here is a pair of earrings. And similarly constructed, they've got a beautiful garnet that's been cut with rose cuts. Now keep in mind, they weren't always rose cuts. There are sometimes some flat cuts. Sometimes they were even foiled back. But this is what is typically recognized as being like that Bohemian garnet look that collectors seek. Here is the back. Again, it is closed. And then you see the very primitive kind of construction on it as well, those kidney ear wires. I do have a later photo. So this is from the early 20th century, and it shows how little the evolution really hit the area that was mining for these wonderful pyrope garnets. It's quite fantastic to see, people at work doing their jobs. Really, they're pulling up these garnets from the ground and then sorting through them to find those that are worthy of being cut into gemstones. Here is a slightly later example from the previous. So this is early 20th century of a pyrope garnet pendant in the Art Nouveau style. And here is a postcard from 1920, again showing all of the work with garnet that was being done in what was still not yet known, actually, or just barely known as Czechoslovakia. Essentially, Bohemia was named as such until around 1918. Thank you so much, Catherine. I appreciate that. Now, this is the bracelet that we looked at that is a little bit more recent. And you can see that the calves are a little less high, but they still have that rose cut to them. And most interestingly, on the back, you can see that it is open. And this is a feature that we really see in the 20th century, not so much earlier than that. So this can absolutely help you determine if your piece is prior to the 19th or 20th century or earlier in the 19th century. Lorraine, greetings to you. Hello, Carol. Hello, everyone. Hi, Cindy. It's fantastic to see you all. So this is a little bit of a walkthrough. And here is, again, a reminder of these three most typical garnets that we see in jewelry and that we seek out. We've got almandine and pyrope, and rhodolite, which is a combination of pyrope and almandine. Never in the exact same measures, but that's why sometimes when you take a look at garnet jewelry, some of it is more and less pink or more and less orange or brown. All of these can be found in antique pieces. And so it is really difficult to look at a piece if it doesn't have a mark and say with certainty, is it Bohemian or not? But what you can usually say is whether it is pyrope or not. And I'm just going to flip back and forth to the colors for you. So here we have the almandine with almost that kind of more a brown orange overtone, pyrope that stays the true red, and rhodolite that takes on that raspberry hue. And I'm just going to allow you to absorb this information for a moment because we are going to play a couple of games using this. But first, let's train our eye and look at a couple of examples. So this is a pendant from the early 20th century from my collection, and it is almandine garnet. Now, the largest central garnet has just a smattering more of pink in it, which almost pulls it into rhodolite, but I still say that it's almandine because it's got that kind of orange, red, brown to it as well. This, I think we're all clear on being a pyrope. It is that true red. While we know that it's going to light up outside with a little bit of an orange flash, that is normal because pyrope that is mined in Czechoslovakia generally has a little bit more iron content to it, and that is what makes it so flashy and so desirable. This is also an example of pyrope that we took a look at earlier. And here is one that has some raspberry hues. So take a look, especially at that bottom drop with the way the light is hitting it. And it's got some raspberry hues that are peeking through. You can almost make it out in the top one as well. This is another example from about 1870 to 1880, a Victorian cloak closure. And again, these are all garnets with more of that raspberry hue. So these are significantly more raspberry and less red, almost more pink than the others. And another one to train your eye. This one, many would almost identify as a ruby or tourmaline. It is so raspberry in nature. So keep all of this in mind because we are going to play the garnet guessing game. And our goal is going to be to take a look at these pieces in round one and identify if they are almandine, if they are rhodolite, or if they are pyrope. So I hope you're all ready to play along. You can feel free to put the letter and what you think it is. So if you think A is almandine, or B is almandine, or C is almandine, or A is pyrope, and so on, into the chat. This is just for fun. Don't worry if you get it wrong. It is not easy to identify gems by sight, but this is just a fun game we're going to play. So in order to do this, as always, I have a little video prepared so that I can first show you these pieces in movement. I have selected a slightly different music today, and I'll take your feedback on that. Here we go. Here's the video. And remember, we are looking to see what type of garnets these might be. All right. Thank you for getting your guesses in. You still have some time. I'm going to walk you through each of them, but I will say you are doing very well with the guesses. I'm quite impressed. Della, it is great to see you. Hi, Jane. I am going to share these again, and we will go through them one at a time. So first up, we've got this Bombay Sputnik ring. You can see the details. Take a look at that color. Our second, we'll just briefly breeze through these, has quite a few little cabochons and larger cabochons at the top, and this is a Victorian sentimental amatory piece. And our third was this lovely little pendant with a fun little dangle in between. So for all of you who said A was almandine, you deserve a pat on the back. Very well guessed. This is an H. Stern Sputnik mid-century ring. These garnets were mined from Brazil, and they definitely have that almandine kind of brownish orange hue to them. B is indeed rhodolite. It's got that raspberry quality that you can make out when the light hits it. And this one actually even has a little hair panel in the back. It is a sentimental but amatory piece. Often garnets were used during this period to showcase love. And so this piece with its coral for protection was just a really fun lover's knot with garnets imbued in it as well. And then our final piece is indeed pyrope. This is a dangling, I almost call it a cherry. This is an early 20th century garnet pendant. And as we saw in the video, it does light up and there certainly is iron content in there. Now, because it is not marked as being Czech, I hesitate to call it Bohemian, although I strongly suspect that it is. Hi, Linda. Thank you so much for making it. It is great to see you as well. So I hope you had fun with round one because we are going to do it again. We have round two coming up. I will say it is just slightly tougher because we've got 4 pieces included in this round. And so these are the pieces that we're going to look at. We will absolutely kick it off by doing our video again, and it'll allow you to see these pieces in motion. Welcome, SMP Biker. It's great to see you. All right, let's go to the video. Did you all get a good look? You'll have another chance. I'll pull up the slides now. Thank you for getting your guesses in. Here we have it. So A, right at the top. B, another ring. C, some earrings, which I actually have on today. And D, another ring. Good morning, Carol. I'm thrilled that you enjoy your cup. All right. Let's take a look. This is A. We can see some seed pearls. We see 2 garnets. Some might not even recognize them as being garnets if they weren't tested. That might give you a little bit of a hint to it. Here is B, an intaglio, some more seed pearls, another Victorian piece. C, some earrings that I have on, more modern, set in sterling, a lot of fun. And D. Not the clearest picture, but it definitely shows you the color of the stone in this hexagon ring. So now I'm going to reveal one at a time what these fantastic stones are. If you guessed A for rhodolite, you are 100% correct. It absolutely has those raspberry hues, and this is an Art Nouveau seed pearl garnet brooch with no space between garnet brooch. The second one is pyrope. This one is tricky and hard to see unless you catch one of the flashes because it has more of that red, almost leaning towards orange than it does pink. This one is a Victorian intaglio ring with garnet seed pearls, and it's quite an interesting setting. It's very securely held, and it's got almost like a Roman soldier. Interesting piece that came from an estate in New York. These are my contemporary, please excuse the typo, earrings. They are indeed rhodolite. They are quite pinky purple. And our hexagon garnet ring is almondine. It's got a lot of orange flair to it, and almost like a brownish undertone as well. So that concludes our little guessing game. And I want to make sure that you all have a chance to enter to win this mug. So please type #win for your chance at a Sundae Baubles exclusive Sundae Brunch mug. I do quickly want to say a really big thank you to a couple of you because I see Deborah, I really appreciate your generous gift of a super sticker. Catherine, same to you. Emily, congratulations on 1 month membership, and welcome Sassy Gal and Kathy Hill again. I really, truly appreciate having you all here. It is such a joy to do these. Now, we do have a couple more things to do today in addition to doing our giveaway. I do have a variety of items to share with you. I tried to find some deals and some other pieces that are worth showing. SMP Biker, please make sure it's all caps, otherwise it doesn't pick up your entry. And I am going to check and see how many entries we have. We've got 19 so far. Cindy Rowe, thank you so much for the super sticker. I really appreciate it. It's very generous. All right, make sure you get those in. And we are going to go to our deals segment in just a second. But before we do, I want to chat with you about loops. So this week I had a little bit of a panic because my loop went missing. And If you do not loop your jewelry, you might want to think about getting one because it can really help you see the inclusions in gemstones, and they're available for very little money on Amazon. So what I want to share is that if you're in the market, I am going to be posting an article just on the community tab for everyone, so that if you need information on how to select a good loop, it'll be there. I really like a triplet because it makes sure that it's a lens that's been corrected to show you, without distorting what the thing is that you're looking at, exactly what it looks like. And that can help a lot with hallmarks and looking for inclusions. And it also color corrects it too, to make sure that it's allowing the maximum amount of light from the outside, and then not distorting it. So if you are trying to, grade a diamond or see how yellow it is, it really does help a fair bit. So I'll share details with you because I had quite a little adventure. I bought my first one on Amazon to replace the missing piece, and it was supposed to be very high quality, came with all sorts of bells and whistles. Bills and whistles is more accurate. It had a UV light and also another white light, and the thing was built incorrectly. It was actually built inside out. And I didn't know until I went back after I received it, and it was impossible to use. And I translated some of the reviews that had been listed in Japanese, and they all said, it seems that you've inverted the lens. So fun lesson for me. Make sure that you read all the reviews and translate those that you don't understand. Jane, I see your question. Is the membership the same as the B membership? Okay, so I have the Extra Scoop Club, and there's two ways to sign up. One is via YouTube. So if you join here, it is the same as being in the first level of the Patreon Extra Scoop Club first tier. If you want additional support with like written reports on your pieces that you'd like help researching and identifying, on my Patreon site, there are some additional tiers as well where you can sign up for, and they cost just a little bit more money. Everyone, so all levels, has access to all of the extra content that I write. So I write some additional posts that I put on Patreon and also on the community tab for the Extra Scoop Club members. And then you're also all sent surveys and invited to join the monthly live. So I hope that helps clarify a little bit. There's a few ways to access it. It's a little bit confusing. And what is tricky is that my Patreon folks, who I love so much, they don't get a little like Sundae icon next to their name, but I know who you are. So on YouTube, it will only give folks that join via YouTube that little icon, but there are more people that are part of our Extra Scoop Club. So I just want to make sure that everyone is recognized. Your support means the world to me. What I think that I will be doing with some of the funds, it really helps fund like primarily giveaways and some of the contests I do, and then also some of the investments that I make on improvements, like getting a new camera so that I can do clearer videos for you soon, which is something that I'm working on too. So I hope that helps. I do not have a Facebook page. I only have Patreon, and I have the community tab that I use as well. So I will maybe do another community post so that it breaks down the differences and how you can join for everyone, in case it would be helpful to have this looping somewhere. All right, I am going to check to see if everyone has had a chance to enter. We have 20 entries on the giveaway, so I think that it is time to do our draw. You have about 20 seconds while I share my screen and head over to do the draw. Here we go. And we have 20 entries right now. I'm going to hit draw in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see who our winner is going to be today. Buttercup! Congratulations, Buttercup. You have won the Sundae Brunch Sundae Baubles mug. Stop sharing. If you can please kindly email me at sundaebaubles@gmail.com. I will take care of getting that shipped to you. I cover shipping, so there's no worries. It is a completely free giveaway. Welcome to all. And I'm just going to check to see if I've missed any comments. I have not. So Buttercup, please do get in touch. Now we are going to go to the deals segment. I'm happy to search for anything that you'd like me to, but first I thought that I would take a look at some garnet jewelry that I've pulled up. Some are a deal, some may feel like less of a deal, but there's some pieces worth talking about. Diana, thank you so much for your super sticker. I really appreciate it. All right, let's share the tab and we will go to gem.app where I have earmarked some pieces to share with you today. Here we go. So again, the way that I do it is by hearting items. I'm able to pull up everything that I've saved, and I've got some doozies. And we are going to start from the top, working our way down. And I will pop it back to make sure that I see comments every so often. The first item, this one feels like a really good deal. These are vermeil and rhodolite earrings, and this is available at Etsy from a shop called Magpie and Raven 925. And I'm just going to click into their listing and we will take a look at their tab. So these are earrings and they are for pierced ears, and they say that they are rhodolite garnet. They're vermeil, so it's gold over silver. You can see that they're quite large at just a smidge, I would say, or maybe right at 1.5 inches with large central stones. I personally just find these really beautiful. There we go. And I bet you they would have a great movement on. So 114 Canadian dollars. I'm going to scroll down to see if we've got any additional detail. Their description is a little bit light. Beautiful, unique, gold-plated sterling rhodolite gems that twinkle magenta. Sounds beautiful. So if you are interested, then the place to go for that is going to be Magpie and Raven 925 Etsy. Let me know if you like these ones. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you were a fan of those ones. I think they're pretty cool. All right, we are going to keep going. And this is an older piece that has a combination of glass, paste, and what they say is an almandine garnet. And this is from Vintage Art and Craft on Etsy. 84 Canadian dollars, so that is going to be probably right around 60 USD. As we scroll through, just a couple things to note. There does appear to be a tiny bit of glue residue, so if this is going to bother you, it is tiny. Just keep it in mind. But it is a beautiful piece, and they say that it is of Dutch heritage. I can't quite make out the marks on this one, but it does appear to be quite well made. And so this one, again, is available for 84 Canadian at Vintage Art and Craft Etsy. The next one. Okay, this is on the steep side. However, it has a Demantoid garnet in it, and it comes from a company called Market Square Jewelers, and they are one that I'm familiar with. I've purchased from them before. It is a gold and Demantoid garnet brooch, and if you have ever looked for a Demantoid for less than like $1,000, you know that it's pretty hard to find. Now, keep in mind, it is a tiny, tiny stone. Here we have it next to a US quarter. So please know these are generally very expensive stones. I'm going to take you to the Etsy listing page. So 369 Canadian specifically, that is probably going to be right around the 295, maybe a little smidge less. And let's read their description. So they say it's 10 karat yellow gold with a Demantoid. The gem is 2.5 millimeters round, and the measurements of the entire pin is 34 by 11 millimeters. So please keep that in mind. They do have a link to a video if this is something that you're potentially interested in. And again, that is MS Jewelers, also known as Market Square Jewelers. They are on Etsy. They also have an Instagram present as well too. Yes, almandine is more orangey red. So I don't agree with their rating of almandine on this last one that we looked at. So to answer Deborah, this one, I don't think that that is almondine. To me, I see hues of raspberry. That's not helpful. We'll just go back to this one. So you all let me know. Now, it's possible that their camera is misleading or the screen is misleading. You can see just a sort of general hue of rose on their full photo, but I personally think that it is probably not almondine. And this is where you're going to find that it is pretty common for there to be errors in listings too. We're going to go to this chili pepper next because it is a good price at $118. And this one is available from The Real Ring on Etsy. It is a rhodolite garnet horn icy chili pepper, and they say that it is set in sterling. There's just 2 views, so we'll head over to their listing here and see if they've got some more details. So they say it's a sparkling pink rhodolite garnet pendant, vibrant and shiny, and it is 1 1/2 inches long. So if this is something that you are interested in, The Real Ring on Etsy is where it is available to you. You know, I really kind of love that raspberry pop of color with rhodolite. There's something beautiful about it. Okay, now we're going to start to get into some of the older antique pieces and pyro pieces. This one is being called the Victorian Bohemian Garnet pin. Now, something I wanted to call out about this one is the construction. So, as discussed, this one does have the nice old T-bar and C-catch, but I'm going to say that it is from the early 20th century, which is in line with its Art Nouveau style because of the cutouts behind the pieces, which isn't something that we typically saw in the Victorian period. It's quite beautiful. You can make out a little bit of color, nice rose cuts to it. And this is available at Times Past Jewelry 1 on Etsy. And I'll quickly pop into chat. Hey, Lily. All right, let's keep going. Okay, this might be like the steal of the show. It is on eBay, and it is a $40 set for these opalescent glass with garnet. You get earrings, a pendant, and a chain. We are going to head over to the eBay tab. Now, it is a starting bid, but there's 5 days left with no bids. So if you manage to get this for the $40 Canadian price, which is about 30 USD, definitely not bad at all. As you can see, it is what we typically see for these opalescent pieces. They're not antique, but they are really lovely. And with this opalescent glass and garnet, it's such a nice combination. Both will really glow. And there you see the earrings. Looks like there may be a little either smuts or tiny chip on this one. So let's see if we can get a clear view. And we see the marking for 925 on this. Again, good indication that it is not going to be antique. They've got measurements. All right, let's see if we can see. Yeah, I think in that picture it was just some schmutz because these garnets appear in good condition. So if you are interested, Alise, A-L-I-S-E, exclusive on eBay with 100% positive feedback and 838 sales, has this on offer if you are wanting to go and place a bid. Okay. We also have a really wonderful stick pin available on Ruby Lane. So this one is $100 Canadian, roughly 75 or just under USD. This comes from Canada. And it comes from a seller named Laura's Life in the Knife. And I can also attest to having purchased some things from her before. It looks like she's got this on sale right now for 37% off. And it is quite beautiful. So let's take a look at a few views. If you were wearing it on your lapel, this is what it would look like. Really nice kind of Art Nouveau piece here. I love the form to it. Now, let's read her description and see if it gives us any indication about whether the full thing is going to be 10 karat. There are some marks, which I'm trying to make out. It looks like, there we have it here. Crafted in solid 10 karat yellow gold, partially hallmarked on the pin stem, impossible to read. They've acid tested this piece on top and bottom. So it sounds like she's guaranteeing that the entire thing will be 10 karat and the entire piece weighs 1.58 grams. So $75 USD is not a terrible price for 1.58 grams of 10 karat gold. Beautiful. If you're interested, available at Laura's Life in the Knife. I'm going to check back to the comments. Yes. Yeah. I'm glad to bring back some of these terms that we haven't heard in a while. All right. We've done these ones. This is another one that is available on Ruby Lane from a seller in my neck of the woods. In fact, she is often at the local antique fairs that I go to, and I love this piece. So it is a 14 karat gold garnet and pearl question mark brooch. And the question mark is a popular motif, I would say, from 1880, 1890, all the way through about 1915 or so. And it was kind of meant to be like a will you marry me, do you love me, are you interested kind of gift, which is really quite special. Let's take a look. I'm going to try to scroll at the other images. It's going to be a petite piece. There she has it being held by tweezers. But I do love the sort of trefoil setting on the ends here. It's quite beautifully executed. A nice old closure with an early round hinge. Beautiful. Okay, so her comments, she is also not super familiar with question mark jewelry, but has seen a fair bit of it too. She thinks it's circa 1890. It is 1 3/4 inches by 5/8 of an inch. And the garnet itself is a deep red rose cut 4mm. She's saying Bohemian garnet. We should call it a pyrope garnet. And she says that there's an indecipherable hallmark. Again, this one is 3.5 grams. 14 karat gold. Not a bad price at all. Quite a beautiful piece. Bygone bijou. If you are interested, that would be the place to hit up. I love stick pins. Deborah, if you have an like silicone earring backs to put at the bottom of them to help them like cover the pins so you're not sticking yourself if you're wearing it on a shirt that's kind of thin, that works really, really well. All right. We are going to go on. We've got a couple here, a couple that are a deal, a couple that are not, but I did want to show you this. So this is an Austro-Hungarian design garnet and pearl brooch, and really nice flat sort of open in the front garnets. You can see that it's closed back. Nice old T-bar, as well as our C-catch. So nice antique piece. And you can see the old construction too, the way that things were put together. Love seeing this. An old, probably river pearl here, another dangle. It is not inexpensive at $395, but these pieces aren't all that easy to find. But I did want to show it to you just for construction sakes and for what to look at, because often people ask the question, are all garnets that are antique going to be rose cut? And no, you can find them where they're more flat cut like this. Sometimes you see this in Georgian jewelry as well, in some of the mourning pieces where there's some like flat cut garnets around a little hair panel. So I did want to share this. If you are interested, Zuzu Bijou on Etsy. And this one is a bit of a better deal. So, or at least in terms of gold and garnet, depends on what you're looking for. It is a retro 10 karat gold ring, and it has a lovely garnet inside of it. Interesting setting, almost looks like a flower. And I love how when the light hits the stone, you can really see the glow. And this one is available at Shop KW Jewels on Etsy for $345 Canadian. $345 Canadian is probably going to be 290, 280, something like that, USD. We will take a quick look at this so that you can get the size information. Here we are. So this one is 5.5 US for the size. It is, they're saying, dated around 1960s, which feels about right. I would say that's later than retro, more mid-century, but that's okay. Marked AKR on the inside, and they are saying there's a small crack in the K of 10K, which doesn't go all the way through. So let's see if we can see what they're talking about. Visible in the 6th photo. Before we jump up to look at that, the garnet is 8.6 millimeters by 6 by 3.3, which is quite a nice size. And they're saying if you want to size it, you will need to repair the crack. So let's go to picture 6 and see what they're talking about. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe they mean this one. So we can just barely make it out, and I'm glad that they've disclosed it. It seems like there's a little line, almost like the beginnings of a slit in the shank. Good disclosure. You may have to get this repaired if you do choose to buy it. So just something for any potential buyers to be aware if you're interested in this piece. Now we will take a look at this piece. So this is a beautiful antique piece, and it is a feather with a bow motif, available from Zuzu Bijou. It appears that both the hinge and the clasp have been replaced on this, which to me is not a big deal in older brooches. I prefer that they be functional and something that I can wear. Let's go to the listing itself. So 132 Canadian dollars, roughly 100 USD. And does she have more descriptions? Item details. 2 inches long, 1/2 inch wide, has a very lovely rose-cut Bohemian garnets in garnet gold, which is not gold. So it is likely a base metal. And the pin and catch are old replacements. Yes, I definitely agree with that. So if you're interested, this one is quite a lovely motif, and you can make out how the light is hitting it, how it would flash beautifully. So I quite like this one. And then we have 2 more. I wanted to show these side by side just to give you an idea of, price shopping, why it's worth doing. We've got 2 very similar pieces, one for $225 Canadian and one for $169. And this is where it can sometimes pay to do a little bit of searching. We're going to click on this one first. I do want to bring to your attention this construction. So similar to the one that we are looking at today, with like the collet setting all in the tiered shape. It is beautifully built up. Nice rose cuts on these. And as you can see from the back, there's been a replacement on the clasp, but it looks nice and solid. And again, this old riveted construction. So I would say it is Victorian. It is absolutely beautiful. And it is what is typically referred to as that Bohemian garnet. Now, one thing that I would suggest would be to ask for a clearer picture. So this one is available at La Couronne Étoile CA. And why I would want a clearer picture is because I always like to go through and zoom in and make sure that there's no tiny little garnet that's missing. And this picture is just a little bit too blurry. If you're willing to take a gamble, you may be able to buy this much more quickly and economically than this other one for $225, which we will look at next. This one is from Vintage Prairie Gems, also in Canada on Etsy. Here you can see from the side view how the gems have been set. We've got another repair, this time on the hinge. And again, it's that same old riveting construction style. Now, with this one, the image is clear enough where if we were to go to the listing page, we will be able to take a look in detail. So this is what I like to do. I like to zoom right in and get as close as I possibly can, so that I'm able to see if anything might be missing. And I strongly advise anytime you're buying anything that's pavé, you do this, and that you just make sure that all components are there. And if you're not sure, then it's worth asking about. And there's often not exact symmetry in these pieces because they are handmade, but anything you see that stands out is worth asking about. So for example, right where I'm hovering right now, I would likely ask for a video to see this in more detail to know if this is a missing garnet or just part of construction. That piece here, I can see the garnet there, so that one's not a concern. But this is the way that I like to walk through jewelry in detail. All right. And last but not least, there is another beautiful piece. Now, this one I would say is almost more along the lines of that almondine color because it's all very orange, almost brown. They say it's a Victorian garnet flower pin. This one's a little bit older. We do have a combination of both open and closed, but this is a nice replacement once again. One way to recognize replacements is that they're often put on a little extra panel of metal that's soldered to as reinforcement. So that's what you're seeing when you see details like this. Now these garnets look a little bit dirty. Oh, how I would love to clean this brooch, but it is fairly beautiful. So Jet's Jewels on Etsy. Let's go take a little look-see. This one is more in the Art Nouveau style for sure. It is only 1 inch across. She says it is gold-plated brass with genuine Bohemian garnets. I would say that these are maybe from the region of Bohemia, but they almost look more almondine to me. I'm sticking by that. Curious, go ahead and vote in the chat. Do you think this last one that we're looking at is more almondine or pyrope? And I'm going to remove this. And there we are. I am back with you and reading the chat again. Want to make sure that I've caught up on everything that I may have missed. It's great to see you all. Any thoughts? Do you think that one might be almondine or do you think it might be pyrope? Yeah, we have 1 vote for almondine. See, this is, I'll show you the jewelry that I'm wearing while we get some votes on that. More orange brown. This is the necklace that I showed that is more rhodolite because it's got that raspberry hue to it. Difficult to see inside where it's dark. And then I've got quite a variety on. This bracelet I managed to find locally at one of our little antique flea markets. And it used to come around pre-COVID twice a year, and it hasn't been around for 3 years. But there was a gentleman who had acquired an entire estate from a garnet collector. And I think my eyes popped out of my head. I was only able to get 1 piece, but this was the piece that I was able to get. Emily, I agree with you. It's always smart to request a video when buying if you really want to be sure and accurate on color. But at the end of the day, as we saw, we do have almondine and pyrope, which together make rhodolite. So you can't go wrong in any of these color families. If you have a strong preference, it really is about getting those photos and then buying what you like. How would I clean it? So that last piece, I would clean it with a tiny little paintbrush or an eyeliner brush. And I use a little bit of dish soap and warm water. What I do is I take a bowl, put a squirt of dish soap in, add some warm water to that. I thin it out so it's not too sudsy. And then I use a paintbrush and I gently clean the inside. So on the back of that piece where there were the openings, I would use that paintbrush to go in. And then I would rinse the brush thoroughly and get a bowl of just warm water, no soap in it. And I would then go in and make sure that I removed all of the residue of any of the soapy water that I may have had in there. I like to use a paintbrush because it manages how much liquid you're putting on the piece as well. I don't love soaking pieces if any part of it is closed. And then I would dry it off. And so sometimes what I do is I will take a little paper towel and I'll roll it really thin so that I can get it into all of the open areas to absorb the water so that I have no water spots. So that is my process. I'll do another cleaning video for you all soon. I've got plenty of things to clean. And I love to clean jewelry. Yes, distilled water is a good choice, especially for that last phase if you're able to as well. Good tip. All right. Now, are there any special requests that you would like me to look for in our shopping time together today? Happy to take any requests from you. It is hopefully nice weather where you are and you're enjoying a great weekend. In many areas of Canada, we actually have a long weekend this weekend known as August Long Weekend. Although to my viewers in Quebec, I know that you don't get that as you had Saint Jean Baptiste. So I'm sorry that you're back to work tomorrow. And I do have some homework to do for a few of you. So those who have submitted requests for information as part of the Extra Scoop Club, I will be taking a look today and tomorrow and sending some emails out. Hello, Jane. Great to see you back again. All right. If there are no special requests, what we may do is a little bit of a look at green garnet, because green garnet is quite expensive, and I want to share with you some of the prices that I was coming across. So I'm going to begin to do that, but if there's anything you would like me to look for, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm going to share my screen again. I'm going to maybe share my screen again. Here we are. All right, so we are going to look for Savorite. Now, often pieces are labeled as Savorite that are likely not. Keep in mind that this is considered a fairly expensive gemstone, and one that was found in the 70s, became more popular in the 80s, 90s especially. So there's not all of that many pieces. There's some in the 60s. I've seen one ring from the 60s, but not many earlier than that. So let's just scroll for a little bit and show you some of these prices. Again, these are all set in fine jewelry, but quite expensive. This is the least expensive I think I've seen for a little bit in that ring. 48,000 diamond and Savorites. Yes, we'll keep scrolling. So I wanted to share this with you just because there are, different price points always. It's always worth shopping around. Often these gemstones are also used in like a pave design. I've seen quite a few pieces like that. And then we're going to look at Demantoid as well. Now, I don't know why this is such a deal. Because they are not certain what they have. So available on eBay. Some of the best times to get a deal is when you are uncertain, or when the seller is uncertain. Now, I will say one little comment. Often you find things that are being called green garnets in older pieces, like this one. So this, if one was to look at it, it is a crescent moon. It has a trefoil, all correct for Victorian motifs. They're saying Savorite and seed pearl pin. Now, there were synthetic emeralds, and often paste was also used in pieces like this. So it is a very good idea, especially when they're very translucent like this, in older pieces, to always make sure that you have your gemstones tested. If there's any question about whether or not they will have, the true gemstone that is being represented, it would be very unusual for this to have Savorite in it. It is likely going to be green paste. Also, keep in mind, this is why I like to zoom in. There is a seed pearl missing here, and a little bit of damage to this one too. So use your tools when you are buying anything pave, anything with tiny, tiny little pieces that are set. It is always a wise idea to look really close. And for that, I love to use my computer more than my phone when I'm making a purchase. All right. There are some beautiful pieces, and they are not inexpensive. We are now going to look for Demantoid. Well, isn't this a steal of a deal? tiny, tiny, sweet little stick pin with a tiny Demantoid. This one's on Ruby Lane. It is 18, they say 18 karat and 14 karat pearl and Demantoid. I will take you there. Again, from our friend Laura's Life in the Knife, 149 US dollars, price reduced by 46%. Let's see what she has to say. Dates to the late Victorian, early Art Nouveau era, crafted with an 18 karat gold top and 14 karat gold pin stem. Not hallmarked, acid tested. The Demantoid is 1.5 millimeters, so again, very, very small. Claw set, and it is beautiful. So, Demantoid, as discussed, this is the stone that will have tiny little horsetail inclusions in it. And I am going to see if I can find a quick photo for you so that I can show you what that looks like. And this is particularly characteristic of Demantoids that are found in Russia. And I'm going to share the GIA's website right now with you so that you can see what this looks like. So this is a very exaggerated view of what that horsetail effect is, but it almost looks like a splay of hair. Up close, and depending on the size of the gem and the power of your loop, definitely with a 30 times magnifier, with a 10 times, you might be able to see some detail. This is the type of inclusion that you would be looking for. There. So I just want to show you that because if you are in the market for Demantoid, they are expensive. This is something that you actually kind of do want to see in terms of inclusions. We will keep looking for more green garnet in just a sec. I am catching up on some comments. Will garnet often be treated or enhanced? It actually isn't that common. So usually the most common thing you'll run into is a simulant instead of garnet, and that is generally going to be glass. But garnet is relatively plentiful. So usually it is either as it is represented, it is unusual to find synthetics other than glass. And I'm going to keep catching up. Thank you, Fleur de Montaigne. Appreciate that. From Kathy, does Amandine glow more orange in light and darker without light? You have earrings. I would love for you to send me those earrings because those could actually be pyrope with some iron in them, which helps them to glow orange, similar to this one. It doesn't look orange at all, depending on the light that you're in, but when light hits it, this one is a Bohemian piece. That is what occurs. And again, I'm just going to quickly flip to the slide that helps explain why that is, because with these red garnets, there is like a distinct sort of composition that goes to it. Here we go. So again, like the Amandine is what's going to be more of that orange brown, and then pyrope is very red, but you can get a combination of these. And what is also really important is that garnets aren't pure. So a pyrope isn't going to be a pure pyrope. It's going to be primarily pyrope in type, but then have other minerals that are in it too. So if we take a look at this one, it's going to fall somewhere within this triangle, and the color is going to be influenced by how much of these different ingredients of elements are in there as well. And, you know, even something that is orange may have some iron in it, but depending on the exact concentration will determine the color. So please feel free to send me photos, or videos would probably be most helpful in the different light. I am happy to take a look for sure. All right, let us return to shopping for some green garnets, or at least admiring them. And I will do a deeper dive one day on green garnet jewelry, but it will be on much more modern jewelry for the most part as well. Okay, so again, we are looking at Demantoids. As you can see, this tiny, tiny little pendant at $7.56, also from Market Square Jewelers. Like, these are not inexpensive stones at all. I'm going to click on this one. This is from Lang Antiques. Has a beautiful variety of Demantoids in this salamander. If you want to go and ogle some amazing high quality antique jewelry, or you want to check out their Antique Jewelry University, I strongly recommend checking out Lang Antiques. They are located in San Francisco, and they are truly like a joy, really wonderful people, fun to meet with. I want to scroll down. So they are saying that the diamonds are old mine, it's 0.3 carats in total, and then the large one. So on its head, then you have the rose cuts, rubies. Now tell us about the Demantoids. So they say that there's a total of 0.55 carat weight. They are yellowish green, and they are very well reputed and do have like GIA accredited gemologists on staff that do their research and writing. So you can be fairly certain of what you're getting with them. That is not in my budget. So I'm just going to keep on scrolling. Neither is this crescent, but it is quite special. Such beautiful color. And so again, as you're probably noting, same as in the green and red families, the variety of color in these stones is all very unique. It is hard to find exactly matched pieces because the makeup of their genetics is so different. So usually jewelers will do their best if they're doing like pave type work to try and match as close as they can, but it is not always possible. So as you can see, there are some spectacular pieces available. I'm just going to keep scrolling a little bit. This stick pin is $3,600, which makes that other one feel like almost a bargain at the $199. And here's another beautiful seed pearl piece. So fun to look at these pieces and dream. All right, I'm going to pop back into the chat. What other requests do we have for shopping today? I'm happy to take a look at anything. And I can go back to looking for some bargain garnet jewelry if you'd like as well, and see if anything new has been posted since I took a peek last night. It's always fun. You know, with this hobby of ours, we always have to keep our eyes open, and it is smart to set notifications too, because you never know what might pop up. And if you are watching an auction on eBay, it's also smart to set yourself a second reminder, because I was watching an auction and I forgot about it. I got distracted yesterday. It was for a locket that matched another locket that I have. I love to buy things in pairs. I don't know why. It's a thing I've always had. And I remembered what I was supposed to be paying attention to, which was this auction 2 minutes after it ended yesterday. Mourning brooches, absolutely. And garnet statement rings. You got it. Okay, those are the things that we will look for next. Let's return. We will start with garnet statement rings, and then we are going to do mourning brooch ones. I'm going to try typing exactly garnet statement ring to see what comes up. And I will peruse over some of the larger ones. If you want to let me know if there's something more specific, if you want single stone, multi-stone, antique, modern. Otherwise, I'm just going to pop into a few things. Now, this one is indeed a cluster. Love this underneath view where you can almost make out the more raspberry color of that center stone and then that more brown color. And you can also see that slightly more shallow cut on these other than the tall rose cuts. So this one I would say is a 20th century piece. Canadian shoppers. That is not all of you, but if it is you, Edwards and Davies, they've got your taxes included. Okay. This is a vintage rhodolite cabochon ring. It is silver and $175 on Etsy. So let's get the details on this, if there are any. They say it's a size 8. I think we might be able to do better than this, so I am going to keep looking and check in to see if there are any more destructions. See, I'm glad I'm not the only one, Robin, that likes to buy things in even numbers. And if I'm stocking up on something or something I think I should be stocking up on, I will also buy multiples. It's been a lifelong thing. This is an interesting sort of pave marcasite and garnet ring. This one's available on eBay. It looks like a more modern piece to me. I will quickly give you the name of this eBay site in case you're interested. It is Marjorie Lucy. They do have an offer option available too. Okay, let's see. We will not go to the $8,000 garnet ring. See, and this is where we can really see that price points are all over, as are the colors. So very rhodolite. I'm going to click on this one. It is in 10 karat gold. The ring size is 6.5 and it's at Stone Mint Shop on Etsy. Now, I feel like this may be a small ring if it was displayed on a finger. Or a smaller ring anyway. I'm just going to click to, let's see if they have shared the measurement of the head of this ring. Okay. The center is 8.6 millimeters. The ring size is 6.5. It's 1.2 total carats. The rise is 5.5 millimeters and the length is 13.9. So it is, depending on what you call a statement ring, it is large but not huge. Sometimes when I'm looking for a statement ring, I go super big. Okay. Let's find a statement ring and let's find it for a bargain. A lot of, jewelry collecting and shopping is almost a waiting game and a patience game to see what you can find. And you never know when something's going to pop up, which is why it's worth popping in to all of your favorite sites and shops and auctions. Okay, this is an interesting looking one. Oh So Many Rings is the Etsy shop name. They are based in the US. And it is almost like a modified sugar loaf that is suspended. It is ring size 7.25. We're going to check them out. So the stone measures 14 millimeters by 10 millimeters and has a height of 4.5 millimeters. Now you would, and the ring size is 7.25. You would need to be comfortable with having something sitting that high off your finger. But if you are, it's an interesting look for sure. Definitely a statement ring. So again, this shop is Oh So Many Rings, if that is of interest. Lisa, I see your question. What do I think a fair price would be for that sunflower ring? Actually, I think I might still have it open. So you are referring to this one here. Let's read the description and the details on it. I'm hoping there will be some details. Okay. Vintage sterling ring, garnet marcasite statement. It's stamped 925. So again, not Art Deco in style. The ring face is 1 1/4 in diameter, so that is a nice size. So For me personally, if I was buying this for my collection, I think that I would be happy if I could get it for maybe $140. I might try $125 first and see if they want to meet me somewhere in the middle if I was making an offer. But I do think that it's beautiful. It is a large ring. Let's see if they have the size of the stones on it too. Prong set. No, just the general size of the ring, not of the garnets in particular. Yeah. So yeah, for me, I would say you could go in and suggest, make an offer of $125. They will counter that for sure. If you could get it for $140, $145 or so, I'd personally be happy. Part of it is also subjective and based on how much wear do you think that you would get out of it. Because if you think that you will wear it frequently and it's going to bring you a lot of joy, then a piece can be worth paying up for, because it's almost like a cost per wear type of equation at that point in time. But that's my thought. All right, I am going to continue sharing. We will go back to the statement ring search. Two caught my eye. This one, the Moonstone, still 2000. So did this one, also 2000. So I really love the look of this one. It is a conversion ring from Franziska on Etsy. And what it is it appears to be a garnet with pearl that has been added to an agate on a gold ring setting. It's beautiful. Now, not inexpensive. I think this would be probably around $1,000 USD. But these garnet cabochons with stars on them were very popular during the Victorian period. And people love them. That's why they're expensive. They're hard to find as well. Okay, let's click on this. So this is a spessarate garnet, and they are not inexpensive. As you can see, it does have some inclusions to it. It also has some white sapphires. They say 14 karat gold. 830 Canadian, probably about 600 USD. And the stone is 7 by 8 millimeters. White sapphire, they say 1980. Could be an interesting one. It definitely doesn't hurt to check out your local pawn shops too, if you're open to it, because sometimes they get some really phenomenal things in there. And normally when they're doing their pricing, they're basically paying for gold weight and not stone weight. So if it is just a mom and pop type pawn shop, you may find a good deal. Okay, two interesting ones. First, we're going to click on this one, 248. Again, oh so many rings. A little bit too expensive in my opinion, but I'm just being difficult. It is a lot of silver. And that appears to be a maker mark. I'm not familiar with them, but there could be a reason for it to be that price. But this is a very large Victorian ring. Let's take a look. So it appears that it may almost have been a brooch or something that a ring shank was added to, based on seeing these supports. And I can't quite make out that mark, but this is from Silver Queen Ink on Etsy. Personally, I think that I would want one that doesn't have this rope detail around the center. Some people really like it, but when I acquire my garnets, my antique garnets, I like to have it with just the tiers and the prongs or collet setting and no extra embellishment. That's just me. Okay, let's keep going. 127. It may have a little bit of a scratch on this one, from Ellis Antiques on Etsy. This is about $100 US. Size 6. There are 9 garnets. Ooh, I like the way the light hits that. You get quite a variety of different colors. You almost have like the rhodolite in the center, that almondine on the side. Definitely a statement ring, but I would probably ask them to confirm whether there was any scratching on the stones. Just get in there. It's possible that they're dirty. This one from Ellis Antiques on Etsy. Here's another inexpensive one. Nope, but it is a faux red garnet. So that is one thing to look out for. Sometimes in antique pieces, as well as modern pieces, they will say that it's faux garnet, meaning glass. So keep your eyes peeled. We are going to go just a little bit further, and then we will start looking for some mourning brooches. Okay, this one is a $53 deal. Not bad. Size 8.75. Love that color in it. Looks like almondine to me. Well constructed. A very strong looking ring. I like it. This one's available on eBay, marked 925. It is $39 US, and you can make them an offer. And the seller is American Coins and Jewelry. I think this might be the best deal so far in terms of potential statement rings. But that is my opinion. All right. Now, one thing I do want to talk about the color of garnet in rings. Thank you, Linda. Enjoy. Take care. Wonderful seeing you. Is that when they're closed back, and even when they're open back sometimes, because garnets can be dark in some lights, sometimes they will look almost like deep, deep red or black. So that is something to keep in mind. Here's my tray of jewelry. So I've got a little tray out, and I'm just going to show you so that you can see what I mean. And I'll take a video and I'll post it in shorts later today, because on the hand, things can look very different than they do. There we go. When you're holding it in front of light, and light can get in. So as you can see in the pictures, and even when I hold this like this, you can see that orange, red coming through, very nice and bright. I'm going to take off some of my rings, and I'm going to put it in my hand so that you can see. On the hand, while it is absolutely still red, it is much, much darker. So it's something to keep in mind, because if you didn't know this, and if you had never had the chance to try on garnet rings, you may be disappointed when you get your first garnet ring home. If they have higher settings, like this one, for example, this allows the light to make sure that it's coming in, and then it's sitting so far off the finger that it kind of continues regardless of the light. There's not much impact, even though I've now closed off the light by putting it on my finger. And with these older pieces, like these, which are closed back, there already isn't any light coming in, so it's only getting sort of hit from the sides. There's not difference from having it on your hand, but in sunshine and other light, it will look very different than it does indoors in your house as well. So just want to share that, because it's good information to know, not to learn firsthand. Okay, we are going to look for some mourning brooches. We are heading back to gem.app. And let's see what we can find. It always, amuses me to see what comes up when you search for mourning brooch, because this thing, for example, there's no reason to call it a mourning brooch. There's nothing that suggests that it would have been used for mourning. Maybe, anyways. Similarly, these are, they say that they're carved mourning jewelry, 3 brooches, and 1 pair of earrings. They could very well be mourning brooches. It is nice to be able to zoom in. And actually, these are really beautiful earrings. So we're going to go to eBay, and I'm going to show you this listing. But without zooming in, we never would have known. So here we have it. We've got 3 brooches of a seemingly black material, flower motif that would have been appropriate to wear for mourning. And then we've got the kidney wire earrings with little tiny stars that are engraved too. And then they do show us the back. They would likely be gold filled. If you're lucky, they could be something better. And then these will be, the brooches will be brass. So earrings could be gold filled or better. Now let's scroll down and see what they say about it. Very little. The seller is Chai, CHY 594. There are 0 bids, 5 days left. Perhaps would be worth taking a look at that one. When I saw it from this far away, I definitely did not agree that they were necessarily mourning brooches. I thought they could just be lace pins, but I'm glad that we zoomed in on that. Here is a set of 2, and these are beautifully carved and molded. Oh, it's actually a set of 3 with a photo as well. The photo may or may not be mourning. And they're probably right around the turn of the century, I would say, in terms of date. So $181 for 3. This one's also on eBay. I will share who the seller is in case you're interested. They're open to offers. Hamilton Woman is the seller on this one. Okay. Four large black mourning brooches, antique vintage French jet beads. So these are all glass, and again on eBay. Now let me know if there's something specific you're looking for, whether it is more along the lines of like gutta percha or bog oak or glass. So this one, Blue Crow, is the seller. Again, they're doing an auction. If you are looking for things like this, sometimes you can find single items for a comparable price. So unless you were interested in the full lot, you could keep looking. Okay, this is from Antique Devotion, bow and bar black mourning brooches. $43 for the pair Canadian, so that's about 30 USD. There we've got an old trombone clasp, and this one appears to just be an old, like I would say an old C clasp, but of the modified variety. And I've actually have bought things from Antique Devotion before. I believe she may be located in France or elsewhere. We will search for that in a second. So 2, that's not a terrible price by any means. Let's see if there's details. Here we go. Victorian and from the 1920s, which I'm inclined to say it's probably a little bit earlier than that, not 1920s. Although she does say that they're early plastic or bakelite. Interesting. So if you were to go for this one, you may be getting a little bit of a mystery, and you would want to test what these are. They are definitely in the correct style to be like bar brooches for the mourning period, and they're in that same style as what one would expect to see. So kind of like the carved, almost inlay diamond look. But it is a bit of an unknown because we don't have testing on these. So if you're interested in taking a gamble, could be fun. These are beautiful, late Georgian miniature portrait brooches. Definitely not inexpensive. And they do have some damage to the back as well. This one looks like it would have been a clasp that has been repurposed, and there's been, some repairs on this, but it is available on eBay. And I'm just going to pop over to tell you the seller name in case you are interested. I'm going to have to pop back in here. There we go. I have stopped sharing the wrong tab. There we are. So if you're interested, this is available. The seller on this one is Serial Pug. They have 100% positive feedback, so not bad. What I like about this is the detail on the front. I would definitely want to get in a little bit closer to see this back, and I would ask them for a video personally to find out like how much damage there is to it. For that price, I'm hoping that it would be gold, but let's see what they say. Stunning pair of late origin, blah, blah, blah. Okay. The gentleman is enameled 9K gold. Portrait under glass, 1.75 inches. The lady is also 9 karat gold. Under glass, surrounded by paste. So there's the information for you. Again, Serial Pug. And we will head back. I'm just going to check to see if I've missed any comments. All right. Hi, Jack. Welcome back. I am going to catch up on these comments. Robin, are garnets backed like paste sometimes? So garnets can be foil backed, absolutely, and that was something that you see in like garnets. There's a region in France, they have these things they call Perpignan garnets that have a little bit of purple red to them, and often they were foil backed, and in the Georgian period they were also often foil backed. You see that sometimes in morning jewelry. It can be very, very beautiful. Let's see. Yes, so this is the thing. Morning jewelry, if it isn't memorial jewelry that actually has the date and is written, inscribed for someone, there are a couple ways where you can characterize it as morning. If it is from the Victorian sort of post-romantic period, so after Victoria's husband passed away, when mourning became very important and popular, so everyone was mourning alongside her, and then for their own loved ones when they passed, it was expected that you would wear black if anyone passed in your family or any relation that was close to you. And so there's a lot of pieces that are referred to from that period that are viewed as mourning jewelry when really they could be black accessories as well. So it's a little bit tricky. Yes, Etsy's new layout is awfully confusing. I definitely agree. All right, I am going to go back to searching here. We do have some wonderful hair work pins. If anyone collects hair work, I'll click in just so that you can get the information. So on eBay at why do we buy that? That is a mouthful. They are also open to offers. So these pieces are highly collectible, not for everyone because they are obviously organic materials. Interesting that it's got that sort of safety pin closure to it. It's unusual, not something that I've seen before. But I did want to share that just in case anybody was interested. Now let's go back to these. So these are fine antique gutta percha vulcanite morning brooches from Jewelry Genealogy. 51 Canadian for the pair of 2. They appear to be in fairly nice condition. And that's Jewelry Genealogy on Etsy. So this is a beautiful, appears to be silver brooch. I'm going to click into Etsy's listing so that we can see. It is $45 Canadian, and I'm hoping that we can get in closer enough to see what it says. remembrance. And then there are some flowers as well. We will go to the back. Aha, we've got some marks. So it is definitely sterling. And you've got a maker mark too. I think it says PP, possibly C. And I can't quite make out these marks. I do see the anchor for Birmingham. That could be a U, not sure. Or an N. It is definitely reversed. So I would say this is a nice antique piece. $45 Canadian is a pretty good price. What do they say? Very little. 25 millimeters by 22 millimeters. If you're interested in this one, Pieces, Items, and Things is the name of the seller on it. And we are going to go back to sharing this tab. So again, Pieces, Items, and Things. And I'm just going to close a couple of my tabs because I have a few too many open at the moment to be able to handle. There we go. All right. Here we have Vintage on Fort has a brooch on offer. And there you have some beautiful faceting. Looks like a base metal with a newer finding that's been added on the back. We'll check it out and see their description. They say it's a molded glass cameo style French jet morning brooch. Okay, for glass, I think we may be able to do a little bit better on price, personally. So I'm going to keep looking, but this is from Vintage on Fort. If it was jet, that would have been a steal. And if it's glass, it's a little expensive. Yes, I'm difficult to please. But I want to make sure we find the best possible deals. Okay, this is a nice little collection available on eBay. So why don't we check it out? From the seller Rude Girl 62, the price is $279 as a buy it now. They are accepting offers, and it looks like you get quite a nice little selection of things. So let's see what that includes. It appears to be a larger and smaller brooch, likely glass with some possibly a pearl in the center, but we'll get into the description in just a second. There may be a little gold ring here. We'll read the description. That looks like either a single earring or pendant, a little fleur-de-lis enameled fob piece, a little hair piece, something that is missing its insert. This may have been a little brooch or watch pin, and then a black locket. Let's go in more detail. So this looks like a vintage gold ring. They're saying it's 2.47 grams. We'll check the description in just a moment to see if they've tested it for anything. Next, we're going to take a look at this locket. Looks like a little fob. Oop. Inside the locket, there is a tiny remnant of hair and a photo. Aha. So this is it looks like something that has been converted to be an earring, as well as a brooch that was converted to be a pendant, which is not what I was expecting at all. So it must have been a brooch and earring set at one point that was later converted to having this screwback earring in it. This is quite the lot of bits and bobs. This appears to be gold filled. It is indeed a watch pin. So the way you would wear this is kind of upside down with this pin on the bottom so that you can suspend your watch. And the ring is 14 karat gold. So I think that's where they're putting the majority of the value on this. And it appears to be either a black star sapphire or diopside, just based on how the light is hitting it. let's read the description and then decide if we think that there's value in this. Mourning ring. Marked, okay, that is not a mourning ring. That is a 20th century ring, marked 14K, has a black star sapphire. Size 6. They say gold, sterling, onyx, and pearl mourning pendant and matching earring. No maker's marks. Test is 10 karat gold for both pieces. Okay. Gold wreath brooch has a back pin back for watch. Ornate gold earring with center half pearl. Large bog oak memorial locket containing hair and portrait. Okay, so let's scroll up. So the current price is $279 USD. If you really loved that ring or thought you could resell it, because it is 10 karat gold, you maybe if there's something else in this lot, it might be worth doing it. I'm going to come back and show you my face, and we're going to there we go. It depends what you're looking for that lot. For me, there's nothing in it that makes me want it. But if I really wanted the ring or I really wanted the bog oak pendant, maybe I would find a way to justify it. It's a very nice collection, but you would have to want something. Between the black mourning pin with the pearl that matches that earring, the earring, unfortunately, you would probably want to convert to another brooch, but that is a good piece too. So it's not a terrible value if you can maybe get it for a slightly better deal. That's my thought. It is a wonderful collection, but there is definitely some issues with a few of the pieces. And the other piece to keep in mind is that when someone has tested gold for you, because a piece isn't marked, you always want to be able to test it for yourself too and ensure that it's not rolled gold or gold filled. Rolled gold, because it is a layer that has been applied over like a central core or something else, a base metal, can mislead people and convince them that they have solid gold when it's not. So if you were buying this, I wouldn't buy it based on the gold metal of anything other than the ring, which is also stamped. Just my thought. Thought I would share. Okay, any questions about that? Or any thoughts from all of you? Happy to have a conversation. The chartreuse on that box is absolutely beautiful. And Deborah, yes, white enamel on mourning jewelry is generally saved for children and virgins. That is correct. Whereas blue at one point in time was supposedly only for royalty, green was used really sparingly and meant rebirth. And if you are looking for a great resource on mourning jewelry, I've got two for you. One is The Art of Mourning. Hayden Peters has a website, and it is very rich with articles and information about symbolism and other, details, and pictures of jewelry, of course. And then Sarah Nahama as well. And we had her on, I think it was in December of last year. And she will be back again to do another talk. All right. Okay, I'm going to go back to searching. Yes, false 10K is unfortunately common. It's always good to know what it is that you're getting. And that's why I love shopping on eBay, but I also like to be very conservative with myself when I'm reading through the listings, because sometimes things feel like such a good deal, but you have to tell yourself, what if it's worst case scenario? What if I get it home and it's not exactly as represented? It's always worth checking their policies too to see what kind of recourse you may have. All right, we are going to go back to sharing. And we are going to take another quick look before we call it a day. Here are two lovely pieces. They say eBay again, a lot of two vintage mourning brooches. The pin, they say it is Czech jet or French jet, aka glass, and unsigned flowers as is. So sounds like we should be aware of some damage on this. This appears to be a piece that has been painted or coated with black on the reverse. Let's go to eBay. And they do have a make an offer option. I kind of like that there's a little trefoil, but you can see where some of this paint or enamel or whatever it is beginning to rub off. So just be aware of that. And then it looks like we have the same in this other piece too. Just a little bit of wear. Now, I do see a little cartouche that's been added that says Checho or Checo. And there is some great debate among collectors on a forum that suggests that sometimes when these brooches or these cartouches are applied to pieces, they are actually not true Czech pieces, that these cartouches can be purchased and then applied later in order to try and give a piece more value. I'm not saying that's what it is, but I'm just alerting you to the fact that that is a conversation that happens. So Checho in particular, rather than Czechoslovakia, etc. All right, I'm gonna say let's pass on this lot. Although if you're interested, it's SRQ Antiques, and we are going to find one more great item to finish up today on. So let's see what the best morning piece is that we can find. At a decent value, might I add. Okay, this is a vulcanite horseshoe on Etsy. It's got a fair bit of carving. Let's take a look. So this one is 29 Canadian dollars. It's probably about 23, 22, 21 USD. There is a little something going on with it though, which looks like it could be adhesive or wear, which is something to be aware of. Nice carving to the sides and good details in the back. We are going to read their notes and see what they noted. Now, this old construction is what you would expect to see in these antique pieces as well. So you've got riveting that applies those balls, which could very well be glass or another material, through the gutta percha, and then the old hinge and clasp. So let's see their notes and see what they say. Victorian, the brooch has a C-clasp and is in excellent antique condition. The items are described to the best of their knowledge. Okay, so personally, if I was interested in this, I know it's not very expensive, but I still might ask them to clarify what is this little piece that we see just before the 3 o'clock point, like between the 2 and the 3. Otherwise, it looks very interesting. And this one, again, is available from Fat Cat Vintage Jewelry. And let's find one more. Okay, let's go here. Susie's Curiosities on Etsy. I think this is where we will end today. So she has multiple pieces. It's a little bit misleading because it's not a price for the lot. It is priced by the piece, unless you do the whole bundle, which is 121 Canadian, which would be about 95 USD. But let's see what she's got. It looks like a couple of sets of earrings, brooches as well. Nice flower. Okay, I'm going to zoom into this one. It is the most clear image so far. So we've got what looks like buttons that have been converted to a brooch and 2 brooches in the top. And then we also have some little earrings with the kidney wires on the bottom. There we go. Now I will say these at the very bottom earrings appear to be a match. The 2 right above are not the same. So you can probably see that there's a difference in the flowers on these. I don't think that they belong together. They're not terrible sisters, but they were not a pair. notice the engraving in the top one, and then the difference in that central bead too. There we go. And here's the backs. So as we've talked about, these are appropriate catches and hinges that you would expect to see. These are early round, not mass-produced hinges. Yeah, that second to last pair of earrings, I wouldn't consider that a pair, and one has a broken kidney wire, so probably disregard that. The bottom one, though, is interesting. I think that's probably one of the best pieces that they have here that's more unique. So let's see. It looks like they are offering both sets of earrings for $69. If you were interested, I would perhaps consider reaching out and asking if you could purchase just one for half of that, being the bottom one. And then the other brooches range in price. Let's see what they offer in terms of information. It says if you buy the set, it's like you're getting the broken pair as a gift. I don't quite agree with that. And there's no details on material. So I would also ask them to specify for us, like, what is the material on this? Are they glass? Is it jet? Is it gutta percha? Is it something else? Because I do have glass buttons in my collection that look very much like this, that kind of matted look to it. So that would be helpful information to have for sure. All right. I am back to catch up on the discussion. A last question from Deborah. You bought a black hand with flowers brooch, and it looks like it has holes to create space in the design. I would love to see it. I would love to see where the holes are. I'm wondering, does it appear like the holes could be where you could pass a flower through yourself, like a small little living posy? Because it could be used for something like that. It could be design. It could also be part of the workmanship, depending on what the material is that was used to fabricate it. On some older metal brooches, you can also sometimes find small holes from the moldings too. So I would love to see that. All right. Thank you all so much for being here today. Thank you all again for your generous super stickers and for the Extra Scoop Club members, as well as everyone else. I really appreciate that you spend this time with me. It is a lot of fun. Deborah, if you want to send me a picture, I'm happy to take a look at it too. And I'll compare it with some of the metal brooches that I have that have small holes in the backs as well. Awesome. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Extra Scoop Club, you have been sent a survey so that we can choose our next live date. So please respond to that if you haven't already. And otherwise, I am preparing for our next live. There's a couple of things that are on my mind. I may survey to see what everybody wants, but I did recently get a fantastic book called Beyond Fabergé, and I've been doing a deep dive into Imperial Russian jewelry. So depending on how much time I have in the next 2 weeks, we may do Imperial Russian jewelry or we may do something Victorian. So TBD. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate you all. It's great to see you. Take care. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.